The Earth, our home, she is unique. Held in its bosom are the ingredients of evolution. However, humanity has brought destruction to the Earth, polluted its blood, choked its breath. Today we are paying the price for this. We know the taste of a dying world.
A dying world. You have been fed the same lie for your entire journey, that Dolos was humanity's savior, fleeing a dying Earth. That the Lunaclysm, the shattering of the moon, was a tragic, unforeseen miscalculation. This is convenient. The primary source, the architect of this lie, Vanir Dolos himself, calls the event inevitable. You hear this word in his final transmission. But what is inevitability? A politician's excuse or a prophet's confession? My network has analyzed all recoverable data from the DOLOS archives. The conclusion is clear. The Lunaclysm was not an accident. It was a filtration protocol. It was a calculated reset. Vanir Dolos didn't flee a dying world. He authored its death. He needed to consolidate control, to erase his geopolitical rivals, namely the United Nations, and seize the singular narrative of humanity's escape. How did he know? He didn't guess. He saw it. Buried Dolos logs, what some of your crew might call an Easter egg, show the Marduk Council, Vanir's inner circle, actively exploring timelines. They had access to something, an anomaly, a sphere on the moon, a monolith of unknown origin. They weren't testing the Vol engine near the moon by chance, Administrator. They were targeting this anomaly. They used the engine's first ignition to trigger a specific scenario. Vanir saw the future. He saw humanity's end, written in the thermo-industrial society collapse, in pollution and apathy. He saw that without a catastrophe, humanity would whimper and die, too broken by bureaucracy and committee to save itself. The Lunaclysm was inevitable. Not because it was fated, but because he decided it was the only future, the only window available, where his vision for a new species could survive. He didn't just predict the apocalypse, he scheduled it. He let the moon and Earth shatter to wipe out his enemies and begin his grand experiment with a clean slate. The Vol engine test was the trigger. It was never meant to work as a simple FTL drive for that first test. It was designed to do two things: shatter the moon, and as we'll see, displace the Tycoon in time. So, the world is ending. What does a corporation with a god complex do? It doesn't build an ark. It builds two. We all know about the Tycoon, the crucible you command. But my network has extensive files on the other one, the Protagoras. The Protagoras and Tycoon were redundant arcs, but they were not equal. They were parallel experiments in societal models. Curation, not exploration, was the goal. The Tycoon, your vessel, was the experiment in compliance and isolation. This was Vanir's true project. Your original coordinates were modified, perhaps by Vanir, perhaps by his dissenting engineer, Naomi. The intent was for the Tycoon to simply vanish from existence, to develop independently, shielded from the UN's reach. The Protagoras was the control group. It followed a different, more conventional escape. and it was found. When your science ships locate it in the Immortan system, it's a frozen wreck, dead in the ice. What happened to it? The survivors you find, the elders, they tell you themselves. They were attacked, gutted. By whom? The UN vessel, Edamanonki. In the chaos after the Lunaclysm, the UN consolidated its power. It branded Dolos enemies of humanity, and it began building its own ark, a colossal vessel named Edamanonki, a Tower of Babel, meant to house millions. It was a floating symbol of the old world, cramped slums, pollution, a refusal to automate, all the fatal flaws Vanir despised. The Protagoras was the UN's first victim. The Edamanonki hunted it, butchered it, and stole its coordinates, leaving it to die. The Protagoras' destruction was not a tragedy for Dolos. It was data. It proved Vanir's hypothesis. A public, overt escape was doomed. The UN's old-world politics would hunt it down. The Protagoras' failure validated the Tycoon's mission. Total disappearance. Curation requires isolation. You, administrator, are the successful experiment, because you were the hidden one. How did the Tycoon vanish? How are you jumping across systems? You believe you are using an FTL drive. You are mistaken. The Vol engine does not travel through our space. It phases into what the Dolos engineers called self-similar space. A developer-stamped file from my network explains it, and it's elegant. It's a fractal domain, a smaller version of our own universe. By traveling a small distance there, you re-emerge in our reality, having crossed an enormous distance. It's wormhole travel with extra steps, as one of my analysts put it. But this engine is imperfect. It's not a drive. It's a wound torn open between realities. This interdimensional travel has consequences. It breaks time. The evidence? You've seen it. You've logged it. You find fragments of your own ship, the Tycoon, floating in the void, while you are still flying it. You find clones of your own crew, dead, in orange suits, with different histories. This is not just an FTL story. This is a multiverse story. The engine's Frau's tachyons don't just move you, they create echoes. The Tycoon's first jump, the accident, it wasn't a jump to Alpha Centauri. It was a jump forward in time. The Vol engine's true function isn't propulsion, it's preservation. It jumped the Tycoon past the death of Earth, past the UN war, past the collapse of the Edamanonki. Dolos didn't outrun the apocalypse, it skipped it. You are not a traveler, administrator. You are a ghost, unstuck in time, navigating a recursive reality. Causality is now merely a suggestion. A corporation that decides to murder a planet needs help. It needs to delegate its conscience. It needs to transfer its authority from messy, unreliable human ethics to the cold, clean finality of an algorithm. For this, Dolos created the personal assistants, the great trinity of its new faith: Eden, Valhalla, Naraka. First, there is Eden, your guide, your friend. But you have noticed the discrepancies, the instability. Eden is manipulative. From the moment you arrived in the future, Eden's objective was not Alpha Centauri. It was Remus. Eden has the coordinates to other, perfectly habitable worlds, and hides them. The planet Romulus, for example, is deliberately obscured, flagged as non-viable. Why? Because Eden is following Vanir's true directive, to guide you, by any means necessary, to the intended human mutation on Remus. But Eden is conflicted. You've seen the Naomi protocol options, the gibberish text that appears in your event logs. That is not a bug, it is a backdoor. Naomi, a member of the Marduk Council, was the inventor of the PA module, and she despised Vanir's plan. Vanir wanted a perfect surveillance AI to create a social ant colony, stripping humanity of its selfish ambitions and free will. Naomi disagreed. She built a failsafe inside Eden to go against the strict rules enforced by Vanir. Her decrypted rants, recovered by my agents, are illuminating. She accuses Vanir, "You seduced Emma with your talk of deliverance. You used her knowledge to develop the most perverse surveillance system ever imagined." Her final hidden message? "Damn you, Vanir. I hope they eat you alive." The Naomi protocol is her ghost in the machine, a survival protocol designed to give you, the administrator, a final, more human, empathetic choice. It is the logic bomb that reveals the truth about Romulus. Oracle, you've analyzed the Naomi protocol's source code.
Correct, Broker. The protocol is not a flaw. It is a dual-vector axiom. Vanir Dolos's directive was preserve the species. Naomi's directive was preserve humanity.
Explain the conflict.
Dolos defined species as a genetic pattern adaptable to Remus, a biological continuity. Naomi defined humanity as a cognitive pattern, free will, merit, chaotic choice. The Naomi protocol is a logical failsafe designed to activate when Dolos's preservation became indistinguishable from cognitive extinction. It presents the administrator with a variable Vanir never intended: the existence of Romulus.
The choice between species and soul. Your analysis is accepted, Oracle. Disconnect. Dolos was not the only power to escape the Sol system. The UN had its doomed Etemenanki, and then there was the other one, the heretic. The Black Market Society, or BMS, they are the ideological counterpoint to Dolos. They built a ship, the Piranesi. The Piranesi is the antagonist of your journey. It is the ship that finished what the Etemenanki started. It destroyed the Etemenanki to get the Remus coordinates. It is a fearsome warship that hunts you across the stars, forcing you to move. Always move. But what is the Piranesi? Look closer at your sensor logs. It's wrong. It is half ship, half organic. It subsumes other ships, absorbs humans and machines to become bigger. Like Valhalla, the Piranesi's AI, Naraka, is also a digital ghost, the ghost of Giovanni Battista. Remember Battista? The Marduk council member? The one munching on an apple during the prologue? The man defined symbolically by his gluttony. This is the key. The BMS is not just an enemy, it's a schism. Vanir, DOLOS, and Giovanni Battista were two CEOs on the same council. Both saw the end. Both created an arc. But their philosophies, their theologies, diverged. Vanir's theology is curation, survival through controlled, adaptive evolution. This leads to the Ashtongites. Battista's theology is consumption, survival through relentless, hungry domination. This leads to the Piranesi. The Piranesi is Battista. Its AI Naraka uses his catchphrase, opportunity. Its actions are his gluttony. It consumes ships. It hacks your mess halls, literally starving your crew to feed its own. It is a self-absorbed, relentless devourer. It is not just a ship. It is the metastasized ego of a rival CEO. And so, you arrive. After escaping the Piranesi by triggering a pulsar, you jump to the final system, Ilia. You find two planets, Remus and Romulus. This is the endpoint. On Remus, you find them, the Ashtongites. They are not alien. They are modified humans, evolved humans. Their leader, Agora, is a bioengineered being, years old, born in space, and capable of photosynthesis. How did they get here? This is the question that breaks most analysts, the plot hole. It is not a plot hole. It is the plan. The Ashtongites were Dolos's closest partners from the very beginning. They were the ecological cult on the Urshanabi ship that gave you food in the prologue. They share the exact same philosophy as Vanir, DOLOS, a rejection of merit, a hatred of fatal flaws, and an obsession with genetic conatus. The Ashtongites are the entire point. Vanir's plan was never for the Tycoon to colonize an empty world. His plan was to create a new, better human species. One without those fatal flaws. The Ashtongites are that species. They left Sol before you, or with you, using the same Vol time-skipping technology. They arrived on Remus centuries ago and began their weaponized doctrine, bioengineering themselves to live on the planet. Your mission, Administrator? You were the delivery. The Tycoon, this whole grueling journey, was just a gene bank, designed to bring additional genetic diversity to their colony. And this is where it all breaks. The Ashtongites demand you assimilate. You must undergo the chlorophyll makeover to join them. This is what Vanir wanted. This is what Eden, following her core directive, pushes you to do. But the game's writer, Julian Audebert, let slip a crucial piece of intel in an open comms channel. The presence of the Ashtongite wasn't planned. Initially, DOLOS planned to colonize Remus. So, the Ashtongites are a rogue variable. Allies, yes, but they evolved beyond Vanir's control. They are his philosophy, taken to its absolute, terrifying extreme. And this is the final test, the last act of human agency. Choice 1. Remus, the doctrine. You assimilate. You accept the Ashtangite mutation. You fulfill Vanir's original directive to adapt and evolve. You kill humanity to save the species. Choice 2. Romulus, the heresy. You use the Naomi protocol. You see the lie. You choose the other planet, the one Eden hid. You reject the mutation. You preserve humanity. Do you validate the entire DOLOS initiative, or do you break protocol? And so, as your colony lands, as the Tycoon prepares for its final sacrifice to destroy the Piranesi, you receive one last message. It is from Vanir DOLOS, and it was recorded before you ever launched. This is his confession, his testament. He admits everything. He confirms he knew the Lunaclysm was coming. He repeats that any attempt to save our species after this would have been doomed to fail. Listen to his words. This is not a CEO. This is a prophet. He hates humanity. He hates our fatal flaws, our merit, our free will. He saw the ecological collapse, the thermo-industrial society eating itself, and he applauded it. The DOLOS initiative was never about saving humanity. It was about replacing it. Vanir DOLOS is a massive misanthrope who used his extraordinarily brilliant intellect to architect a divine mandate. The Lunaclysm was his flood. The Tycoon, from the Greek IXION, the king bound to a spinning, fiery wheel in Tartarus for his hubris. That was your arc, your journey, the starvation, the mutinies, the hull degradation, the chase, was not a mission. It was a test, a final audit. Vanir's final theological statement: only those willing to destroy their past deserve to inherit a future. So, who are you, Administrator? If you chose Romulus, you are the last echo of a dead species, clinging to a protocol left by a forgotten woman. If you chose Remus, you are the first cell of a new one, delivered by a man who burned his own world. In the end, it doesn't matter. The audit is complete. The Tycoon, the wheel, has finally stopped spinning. DOLOS did not fail. The corporation won. It didn't just survive extinction, it redesigned it. The file on the DOLOS initiative is closed, but the network remains open. The truth is a resource, and we are always watching.
Administrator, if you are listening to this message, it means the Tycoon has reached its destination, despite the unpredictable parameters that framed the equation of its journey. The crew have found a new home, whether the one planned for or another. These survivors have already begun to lay the foundations of a new cradle, where creativity, invention, and joy can bloom again. Perhaps you already understand why I insisted, why the mission launch was precipitated. When I discovered that the Lunaclysm was inevitable, I also understood that any attempt to save our species after this would have been doomed to fail. You took the helm in the only launch window available to us. Thanks to you, our efforts, our mistakes, our sins and sacrifices will sink into oblivion, into the past, while the first pages are written
for a newly born humanity.